Hey guys, and welcome. Welcome back to the ASX Investor channel, and welcome to another ASX CEO interview. Today, we're very excited to be unpacking a company that plays at the intersection of healthcare and technology. They've developed a top-of-class technology for respiratory diagnostics, and it's a really exciting opportunity. They've identified a $30 billion plus US dollar total addressable market, so there's a significant opportunity ahead, but also there is that chance to really impact many lives around the world. It's a fascinating company, fresh off an IPO over the past year. Looking forward to discussing it. Andreas Fouras, the CEO of 4D Medical, welcome to the channel.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Would love to just give you the platform firstly to share who is 4D Medical and what is that opportunity that you're trying to solve at the moment?
Thank you so much. There's a massive opportunity there in that right now, when you look at the diagnostic tools looking to provide information to patients and doctors about what's happening to people's lung health, the tools there are all decades out of date. So the key technology that's being used now is CT, which is 1970s technology, and then really side by side with that, a technology from the 1890s and even the 1860s. So with that technology being out of date, the information that's being provided by those to doctors and patients to make really important decisions about people's lives is also out of date. And so we've found a way to provide really rich, detailed information about what's happening, about the function, about how people's lungs work. And that's proving to be really incredibly useful to that whole sector, not only to the doctors, but as I keep saying, also to the patients themselves.
It's a really unique technology. Of course, it gives you the opportunity to provide rich insights, but interestingly, hearing you speak about it, it can be layered on top of existing technology as well. And you've got that unique SaaS model. Did you want to speak about what you've been developing over this past period and how you are looking to roll that out?
Yeah, so our technology, we're 4D Medical, and we provide a four-dimensional view of the function of the lungs. And as you say, we're looking to layer that on top of existing technology, and that allows hospitals and healthcare systems to use the infrastructure that they've already been building, that they've already paid for, and yet to layer our technology on top of that and provide that richer, better, more accurate information to them. And that's great for the hospitals. They don't have any capital costs. They pay us in the same way that they get paid on a per scan basis. And it also allows us to have really attractive margins. We're looking at, in the ballpark of 90% gross margin on our technology, that's great for our shareholders as well.
You've really worked hard over this development process, and now looking out towards commercialization. You've obviously got the two different aspects, both on the clinical side as well as like the pilots with the research. Would love to hear your thoughts about that focus on how you're looking to move forward there.
Yeah, so we have a brand new technology, with a fantastic, really big blue sky market, as you said, $30 billion US dollar opportunity for our addressable target market. And however, to attack that, to penetrate into that kind of big size market like that, you really do need to bring people with you along that adoption curve. You need to bring the information, bring credibility, so that doctors feel relaxed and patients feel comfortable using that technology. And we have two key planks that we're using to allow that, and they are the clinical trials. We're incredibly excited by those. Everyone's heard about clinical trials and what they do for a company. And we're incredibly fortunate that we have the best doctors from the best hospitals around the world partnering with us on that. So folks at Cleveland Clinic, at Cedars-Sinai, at Duke, at Temple, really across those leading, and of course Johns Hopkins, those leading sites, and the best doctors at those delivering us that technology. And the key outcome of that is those doctors, when they complete those trials, will be out talking publicly, in their sector. So they'll be talking to other doctors at conferences. They'll be writing scientific articles, really talking about the technology and their understanding of it. And then side by side with that is this pilot program where more everyday hospitals, everyday doctors now, use the technology for real world usage. And then at the end, the outcome of that, the product of that, is they talk about their experience, about how they used it, and the fact that it's proving helpful for them with their patients in everyday life. And those things together are really lifting that knowledge base, lifting the understanding, and really just meaning that as we talk to people now more and more doctors have heard of the technology when we have our first conversation.
To help to conceptualize it, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You mentioned the three existing technologies with spirometry and then X-ray and CT. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What does 4D Medical's technology actually provide? What is that benefit, and how has it been received so far as you've started rolling it out?
Yeah, look, it's incredibly exciting, that offering that, spirometry offers measurements of your lung function, but because, you perform spirometry by breathing into a tube, all of that complexity of all of the different parts of your lung come out into one tube and sort of one amount of air, for example, that you can breathe in 1 second. And so that whole complex story gets reduced to just one number. Whereas CT, on the other hand, is complex. It does show you all the different parts of your lungs, but it doesn't show you how they work. It shows you an image of what they look like. And then, through the genius of radiologists, they can look at that image and they can infer how your lungs work, how they expect your lungs to function in each of those areas. We basically take the best of both of those worlds and we create this rich, not just 3-dimensional map, but even 4-dimensional map. So with the 4th dimension being every phase of the breath, this rich detailed map of your lung function. So things that get missed by both technologies really get captured by having the best of both worlds in one single platform.
It's an incredible opportunity. And if successful, could you just speak about that total addressable market that you've identified, and what is really the scope if successful with this adoption for 4D Medical's tech?
The sky's the limit. There's really no limit to the millions of people that we can help with our technology. And around the world, that $30 billion is represents about 30 to 40 million lung tests performed every year. And we're focusing specifically on the US as our number one market, and of course we're also have a strong presence in Australia. And that US opportunity is about 77 million scans per year, or a $13.7 billion opportunity just in the US alone. And we really see ourselves being able to take a majority share of that market, and in fact, we can grow that market as we penetrate deeply into it. So that the opportunity is vast. There's tens of millions of lives that we can save, and in fact, if we look today, there's really topical issues that just show how important lung health is. And so, for example, there's now millions of people more around the United States, in fact, tens of millions, who need ongoing follow-up from having had COVID recently. And we know that about 1 in 3 of them need regular follow-up. So, there's that big 70 million tests, $13 billion opportunity. And that's actually grown by 20 million or so people that really need access to technology just like ours.
It's definitely an interesting discussion point. It's something that's affected everyone around the world last year, and particularly for a company playing the space that you are. Of course, there would have been disruptions. We know a lot of the medical resources were utilized last year, focusing on the virus. But how did COVID affect your business? But also, what were some of the opportunities that you see with your technology to make a difference in the space?
Look, the opportunities are really quite, they really are there, and they're at the front of our mind right now. However, we had, if we think about those two key platforms of clinical trials and pilots, both of them were pretty seriously interrupted. The clinical trials in particular, most of those large, hospitals put a complete halt to all clinical trials, were completely stopped over the course of COVID, and so, that was something that really took some, really put a substantial delay there. However, we are back with a vengeance on that front, and we now have, 8 trials approved and 5 of them currently imaging patients, right now this week. And as I said, they're at the best hospitals around the United States. And we're also excited that, we're firing up trials in Australia as well, which is really exciting. On the pilot side, there also have been some delays, but they're a little bit different in their nature. We've been able to keep talking to those folks, keep progressing them along. And we're also particularly made good progress on the Department of Veterans Affairs, termed in the United States as the VA. Those pilot discussions have been progressing particularly well, and we've had a pilot that's been, it's been going a little bit slower than we want it to, but that's looking like there's some opportunity for that to break out across, become multi-center pilot. So really, both of them now are getting pretty much back to full strength, and on top of that, that that COVID opportunity of, something like 20, 30 million Americans who really need our help more than back a couple of years ago.
Just touching on the revenue opportunity that you have, of course, it's interesting because it's a SaaS type software, so you don't have that immediate uplift, but over time, as you add on more customers, it will continue to grow. Did you want to speak about the revenue, the focus, and the numbers that you're starting to see, and what investors should be looking for moving forward?
Yeah, look, I think I'm so glad you raised that point. I mean, I think for us, we see SaaS, people talk about, sort of about J curves and rocket ships, but really, I think the SaaS business model is incredibly profitable and has this really fantastic scalability about it. But at the same time, it doesn't start off with a bang, right? So the way SaaS businesses explode is, more like a train pulling out of the station. They come out, they first look, like they're moving pretty slowly, but there's more or less endless opportunity for them to just keep accelerating and accelerating. All the customers you have keep putting sending business back to you, and that just keeps kind of cascading. Every time you give a scan back to a doctor that they like, they're likely to give you another one and another one. They're also likely to talk to their friends. And at the same time, our sales force is out there expanding the number of hospitals that we'll be at. And so I really think that, as I said, the opportunities are incredible. And I see this as a train that, as it starts to take off away from the station, it's just has the opportunity to go faster and faster. And, we really are looking at a multi-billion-dollar revenue opportunity.
And of course, the software can be laid over existing technology, but recently you got a $29 million grant to also develop your own scanner. Did you want to talk about what that means and also why it was so significant in the journey for 4D Medical?
Yeah, it's interesting. When we first started the technological discovery, the obvious place to start was with a scanner, was with an actual, built instrument, a machine that you could take those images with. Now, we realized pretty quickly that for commercial reasons, progressing that to a SaaS business model really did make a lot of sense. And that is absolutely still the core of our business model. And, we really, rather than seeing this as a hardware play per se, or as we see this really about having the government fund us to the tune of, nearly $30 million to develop new intellectual property. And that intellectual property will allow manufacturers, people to make scanners that can go out there into the real world that can be the best possible customer for us. If you think about this from the hospital's perspective, the customer's perspective, there are a lot of advantages for having that opportunity to buy one. Now, not all sites will do it, and we're completely comfortable with sites not doing it. And so we can continue to layer on their existing technology. But if a site does want to spend nearly $1 million to buy and install a dedicated instrument, it really demonstrates that they are going to be really sticky customers. Also, it means that they can do more scans per day, which is great for our software business. And it means they can scan more people. The technology allows, for example, us to scan children, even small children, and also older people. And those groups are typically not well served by the existing available technology. So while they maybe represent, say, 10, 15% market growth, because there's no competition there, really it can be scaled dramatically. Those areas are really just wide open to be captured, much more quickly, and providing something that's just completely missing for that whole part of the community.
Hearing about the growth opportunity, it's definitely a compelling one. And of course, thinking about the fact you've now got a top of class technology focused on the respiratory and the lung space, we'd love to know your thoughts. Is there any ability to transpose that potentially to other types of body parts or illnesses for the body? There's obviously already still a long growth runway ahead before even considering that, but is that an opportunity moving forward?
It really is. And you can start to see the early evidence of that in the product pipeline that we have. As you say, our key product right now, our XV LVAS technology that measures airflow in the lungs as you breathe using existing X-ray equipment, is being laid by that XVD device that we've just won the funding for from the government. And also our next lung imaging product is being given the code name or the technology name of VQ, which means ventilation perfusion. So that technology allows us to measure airflow and blood flow in the lungs at the same time. It's a fantastic space. It's very exciting. And there's some really interesting premium model opportunities there. Scans at the moment in that space typically require either, injected agents that can be, toxic to the kidneys, or agents that have to be inhaled and also injected. So there's all of these risks around, radioactivity and other things about having, contrast put into your body. Our technology is completely contrast free, and allows us to get into scans that are, in the United States, these scans go for about $2,000 per scan, and we have a cost of delivery, on our technology of using the cloud of about $10 per scan. So there's really amazing opportunity to provide something which is safer, more convenient for the hospitals, but really also a great premium product option for us. But once we get into that space and we're able to measure blood flow in the lungs, the opportunity to expand that and to measure blood flow, for example, in other parts of the body is also really exciting. And I think you can see that we can transition from there towards the heart. Also, in cancer, blood flow can be very important. So there's, a whole range of areas. And we do see a long-term future where our technology platform really spreads across all of medicine.
It's an exciting pipeline, and there's definitely a lot to continue to look forward to. Would love to know your thoughts. Of course, this is a journey developing this technology over a decade long, but life as a listed company after the IPO, how have you found it so far? Some reflections on the share prices. What have you thought about it all?
Look, it's been absolutely exciting. And I think that, for me, as we approach the 1-year anniversary of the listing, it's a really great opportunity to sit, and at the same time, reasonably close to our end of year reporting season. I've been spending some time thinking about the past year and what we've delivered. And actually, I'm really excited. We've pretty much delivered everything that we said we would, and perhaps a little bit more as well. And, the share price, it does all of the things that the market, expects a share price to do. It goes up, it goes down, and it does its thing. But, to be sitting right now at double the price that we listed at as we come up to a year, I feel pretty happy about that. And that, that was about double the price that it was about a year or so behind that. So we're on a pretty good run. And, it's done some other things in between, but, I feel like those investors who have been with us for the long term have done really well, and people who continue to stick with us for that long term are going to do even better still.
You touched on it there, that it's been 1 year since the IPO and you've had some great reflections and achieved everything that you set out to do. Would love to know your thoughts looking out 12 months ahead again in the future. Where will 4D Medical be?
Look, we get to this point next year, we'll have one of our XVD instruments in a hospital in Australia, really proving what the incredible power of that platform, that hardware platform merged with our software technology can do. We'll be getting really very close by this point. We'll be able to be sharing with the market the fine details of our VQ product and where that's going to be coming out there. And the market will have seen what another 12 months of commercialization on our XV product has delivered. We'll see those clinical trial results out there in the public domain. We'll see the leaders from the best researchers from the best hospitals in the United States and around the world talking about our product. And we'll see paying customers using our technology and coming back and giving really positive feedback for their experiences. We've already seen some of that, in our pilot sites. And it's one of the most uplifting things for me to speak to a doctor and to hear from a patient that say, this changes my thought on my illness and how I treat it. And doctor saying, I can give this medication now, or I have this different perspective now. That really is so exciting. When we fast forward, we expect all of those stories to keep coming over the next year. It's really going to show, it's incredibly exciting. It's going to show what the technology can really do. And I think at that point, people are going to really have a much clearer understanding of just how big this opportunity is.
There's so much to watch in the ASX 40X story. Would love to hear your thoughts for those maybe who came on at the IPO date, for those longer term shareholders or those prospective shareholders who are looking at the 40X story. Any final reflections that you wanted to leave them with? Yeah,
we are incredibly passionate about delivering substantial improvements in healthcare across the world for so many people. And, the people who have been with us on the journey for long term, we're really grateful for that support, and they've done really well, but we're really just getting started. And, if you're thinking about jumping on now, it's a great time. We're just getting started. And in a year and 2 years time, we're going to be looking back at today and really understanding that this is that this steam train really is really built for speed and is going to do some amazing things.
It's an incredible opportunity. And most importantly, it does have the ability to make that tangible difference in lives around the world if successful. We'll continue watching the ASX 40X story. Andreas, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the channel.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
What a pleasure of a conversation that was. A big thank you to Andreas for joining us on the channel. It was fascinating to hear more about the 4D medical story. We'd love to know your thoughts, so drop in a comment below what you think about ASX 40X and where do you think 40X heads from here moving forward. It's a fascinating story in a space that definitely has the ability to make a big difference, so we'll definitely be watching to see where they head in the next chapter. This past period, we've looked into a range of different stocks on the channel. We've interviewed a range of different ASX CEOs. We'll leave links to those up above that you can check out after this one. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share it out. We're the ASX Investor channel and we make daily videos talking about the stock market, investing, and we find and analyze the best growth stocks. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you've got your bell notifications turned on as well, so you won't miss any of our daily episodes. Thank you so much for joining us. A big thank you to Andreas for joining us on the channel. For now, stay well and happy investing.